Welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days, brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our friends at Blood of Tyrants. Drink bloodoftyrants.com. Promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Drink bloodoftyrants.com. Promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. It's the Saturday Big Show. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is here with us as always on Saturdays. How's it going this morning? How are you doing?
Good.
Good. I've got my churro coffee today. And you didn't like it, did you? You didn't like the churro coffee. Could have used some hot salt with it. That's so we got a whole bunch of stuff to get into this week. We pre-taped it a day late because we thought that the Epstein files were coming out, and just, maybe on the off chance that anything worth a damn was there, we would cover it. And it turns out, instead of me breaking down the Epstein files, you're just going to get an angry rant from me in about 15 minutes or so. We got a bunch of other stuff going on as well. We got $5,000 stimulus checks potentially coming from Elon and Doge. America's wine aunt is back. We've got an update on the Pope. And Elon Musk sent an email out that's got some people riled up. We're going to try to get to all of this. Joy Reid is out. Diddy's lawyer is also out. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the news this week that we're going to try to cover all of it. But first off, I probably scared some of you with my Fort Knox diatribe last week about what would happen if the gold wasn't there. I know Mia was pretty nervous about it. I wanted to offer some reassurance. So Chuck Grassley, the senator from Iowa, who is 97 some years old, tweeted this out to reassure everybody. You go down to intro, it's under Fort Knox, yeah. He tweeted, President Trump says he's going to Fort Knox to check if there's gold. Well, I can attest to it. Freshman Representative Chuck Grassley, then member of Banking Committee, went to Fort Knox to check on the gold in 1976. The gold was there. So anyone who was worried, Chuck Grassley went 50 years ago, and and he says it was there. So not to fear. Absolutely nothing's happened since the 70s. There's no cause for concern or anything. Chuck Grassley wants it. I think that might actually be better than an audit. A guy in his 90s recalling something from 50 years ago that he went and did. I think that actually might be more reassuring than an audit. There's no way he could have forgotten. The guy who probably forgets his grandkids' names 3 times a week remembers that gold was there in 1976 when he went there and saw for himself. I'm happy. I'm happy. I can rest assured I'm no longer concerned about Fort Knox. We've got some other just little brief tidbits before we dive into the lead topic and everything here. Did you hear the news, Mia? Vivek Ramaswamy is officially running for governor of Ohio. If he wins, he would be the first ever Indian American governor of Ohio. When I say Indian, I mean dots, not feathers. He would be the first ever Indian governor of Ohio. And, I'm actually a big supporter of his. And I went to go to his website to donate money, but he would only accept donations in Western Union and Target gift cards. You know what, though? I'm relieved. It's a breath of fresh air. I supported Vivek when he ran for president because, you know what? It's about time that politicians actually represent us and talk about the real issues that we're facing, like our car's extended warranty. So I'm a big Vivek fan because he's going to tackle those issues there. I forgot to talk about this on the Heartland Hot Take segment that aired on Wednesday, which we do once a month now, breaking down local news. A man in Fremont, Nebraska was arrested, or he was arrested back in like 2020, 2021, but he got arrested and he finally got sentenced to time served because a medical helicopter was trying to land. And while it was landing, or trying to land, to take someone who was being medevaced from another hospital, this guy was throwing rocks at the helicopter to prevent it from landing. And so he sat in jail for like 3 or 4 years. and they put him. They sentenced him to time served. They said, "You've done enough. You can leave now." But it said the thing that stuck out to me the most about this was it said as the helicopter aborted the landing, it determined it was not safe for them to land. So I hope the person in it survived and got the care they needed. But it said the helicopter aborted the landing, and as it flew away, the guy threw one more unknown object at it. So I'm just imagining him just and stay out. The people are insane, dude. People are insane in this fucking country. One more here we got a lot of intro, just brief things. So Mia, did you participate in the boycott Friday? Liberals boycotting?
No, I went to every single store possible.
She actually did her Christmas shopping yesterday. No, so Friday, it'll be yesterday when this airs. Friday the 28th, the liberals are planning to do a national boycott where they don't buy from anybody to prove some type of point. I don't know what the point is, but it's funny because they're not doing like a long-term boycott. They're telling people if you need your shit, buy it Thursday or the day after. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to give these companies your money. Like, you understand how this works, right? Like, you get that? Like, if you owe me $100 and I say you better bring that money to me by Friday and you bring it to me Thursday, you understand how that doesn't hurt me, right? Like, I still got the $100. Even if you bring it to me Saturday, I'm going to be a little annoyed, but I still have essentially the same thing had you brought it to me Friday. So I would love to know the rationale behind this boycott, because it doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. Do you have any theories why they might be boycotting? Any whatsoever?
I have no idea. I thought they were just boycotting Target because of the DEI thing.
They are boycotting Target because Target rolled back its DEI programs, which the Costco refused. Costco refused. You know, so I'm torn on Costco. Part of me, I'm like, I don't want to shop there because they're still doing the DEI thing. But the other part of me is like, well, I don't see very many black people there. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Calm down. Fuck, man. I really don't, though. Chill. Relax. It's not a big deal. It's because I go to a Costco in a town that doesn't have any black people in it. Not because there's no black people, but because it's the closest to where I live. Fuck. I got to stop digging this hole.
I'm the opposite.
I know you are. That's how she got her nickname. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Well, it's like, I'm tired of being labeled all these things that I'm not. You know, I'm tired of being labeled a bigot and a racist because I didn't vote for Kamala Harris, which is ridiculous. Just because I don't like Kamala doesn't mean that I hate all retarded people. You know what I mean? Like, they said it, like, oh, you didn't vote for Kamala Harris. You're a misogynist. I'm not a misogynist. I don't hate women. I just want them to have less rights than me. That's all. There's a difference.
I agree.
She agrees with me. And you were telling me the other day, weren't you saying something about like there's a whole bunch of women that are starting to post on TikTok? What were you saying?
Yeah, there's like a TikTok trend. It was a little bit ago where the girls would be like, me going to work because some women decided that they wanted voting rights or something like that. Yeah,
and you said that like half the comments were agreeing with her. See, 4 years ago, 90% of them would have been calling her a pick-me or something like that, but the tide's changing. Women are finally realizing the scam that feminism was. They really are. Feminism, I was telling you this at dinner. This is what we talk about at our dinner. This is not just an act that I do on the show. These are the things we talk about at dinner in our house. I was talking to her at dinner the other night about how feminism was a government psyop. The government realized they were in bad after the war, and they needed to come up with a way to boost the revenue and the tax revenue. So they had assets within the media that had connections to the intelligence agencies start preaching to women that, hey, you should go out and get a career. You should get a full-time job. Send your kids off to daycare, whatever the case may be. Yes, there were obviously women that believed that they wanted equal pay and all that stuff as well. But for the majority of it, The way it started was a government psyop to build tax revenue. That's a fact. Feminism is a scam. It really is. And no, if you want to start a career, go ahead. That's like, but like the reaction you saw to Harrison Butker a couple years ago, I wonder if you'd still see that today. I wonder if it would. You'd still see the usual suspects would be upset, but I wonder if you would see as strong of a backlash on Harrison Butker today as you did a couple of years ago when that happened. Just food for thought. I don't know. I'm rambling here. Let's go to the Epstein files. So we got the Epstein files. They sent me the packet. No, I'm kidding. And I would be worried if I were Gene Stother. If I did get, see, that's why someone like me would never get it, because I would just make a bit out of it. I would just make a bit out of it because I would be like, oh man, I'd like tease all these different people that nobody knows, and just start tagging them on Facebook. Be like, just take because this is what happened. So Pam Bondi said, I've got the Epstein files. We're going to release them Thursday. And they released phase 1 of the Epstein. No, fuck you. Release all of them or don't do anything. Don't tell us you're going to do anything until you're ready to drop all of them. How about that? So they released phase 1. And my question is, how many phases are there going to be? Like, are we going to be like in 2027? It's going to be like, all right, this is phase 89 of the Epstein files. That's my question here. But so instead of just releasing it to the public, they sent it to several conservative influencers and told them to go talk about it on their podcast and radio shows. This pisses me off. Like, this actually upsets me here that they would do this. Well, I mean, first off, side note, if they did send it to me, like if I was one of the people that got the packages, which I'm nowhere near big enough to be, share the show around, maybe I will be someday, but I'm nowhere near big enough to do that. I would absolutely just start fucking with people. I'd like start taking selfies with it, just tagging people, be like, you better watch out at Lavetti Vegas. Just fuck with people. Just getting people like small, like local people's head. Just mess with them, you know? Like look at the dirt I've got on Stothert now, you know, that kind of thing. Should we recreate it? Because that's the pick. These guys, and I find this disgusting as well. These influencers are all posing with these Epstein binders. They just say Epstein files with like the official state seal on them. Should we recreate that, but make it Joe Stothert files and post it? Do you think we should do that? Mia's laughing hysterically off camera right now. She just face palmed. We think we could do that? Like, look what I got. Gene Stothert file. Joe Stothert files. Oh my goodness. So this has been a long, tedious affair with these Epstein files. So we heard Kash Patel before he got, actually, let's take it back before the election. Donald Trump said, I'm going to release the Epstein files and the JFK files and the RFK Sr. files if I get elected, right? Kash Patel, before he gets confirmed, says, I will release these files day 1. 5 days go by, and everybody goes, where are these files at? Where are the Epstein files at? You keep promising them. Where are the files? And it's radio silence. And then all of a sudden, Pam Bondi, the AG, says, I've got the files on my desk right now. And then it's radio silence for like another week. And people are going, all right, what's the holdup here? So Pam Bondi comes out Wednesday night and says on Fox News primetime, we're going to release the files tomorrow. And everyone had the exact same reaction to it that I did, which was, yeah, right, I'll believe it when I see it. And sure enough, essentially what they released was, so they made a huge public spectacle of it. They called these conservative influencers into the White House, and they gave them these documents, and they said, okay, go break these to your audience. No, that's not what you should have done. That's not what you should have done. You should have released them publicly on the DOJ's website for anyone to look at. And guess what? These same influencers who talk for a living would have broken it down for people, and they still would have gotten that news out to their audience. This was clout chasing, and it makes me sick. They've strung people along. Guys, I hate to break it to you. The whole administration, from Trump on down, to Patel, to Bondi, all of you guys, you're not on TV. You're not trying to sell next Saturday's episode. That's not what we're doing. This is serious stuff. I mean, these are minors got trafficked and fucking raped, dude. And you guys are making a TV spectacle out of it, trying to draw in as many clicks and hits on podcasts as you can. It's gross. This aggravates me. And everything that was in, quote unquote, phase 1 of their 273 phase plan was stuff that was already public record, stuff that we already knew. So they more or less took a bunch of stuff that we already knew, compiled it and organized it, which is nice of them. It's nice to have a reference point, and then build that for a couple of days as if they were, or excuse me, for a day, as if that was going to be this big drop. And it wasn't. And it wasn't. And I will give MAGA credit on this, because MAGA is furious right now at the Trump administration, which is a positive development, because I've seen MAGA split with Trump a couple of times now. And you know, I consider myself conservative, but not MAGA. But I've seen MAGA split with Trump a couple of times on this, and I think that's a positive development here. Because it means that it's a living, breathing organism that can think for itself. They're not just going to go along and defend everything Donald Trump does. Now, I'm sure we'll get angry comments from some idiots that will defend everything, but everyone has that, especially the Democrats, because that's the reality here is, well, if Kamala Harris won, number one, she would have buried this and never talked about it. But had Kamala Harris won and promised to release the files and then done something like this, the Democrats would have been defending her, talking about how we don't understand how investigations work and yada, yada, yada. MAGA's not doing that. You don't see a unified front defending Trump from his base, and I like that. We need that. We need to remember what I told you when he won the election, the day he won the election. This wasn't going to be Trump ball washing hour. We need that from every single one of you. We need to hold our leaders accountable, because the Democrats don't do it. And for a long time, Republicans didn't do it either. And you saw where that got us. So we need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep the pressure on Trump, on Bondi, on Patel, all of them, to follow through on this promise. Because this is not a fucking game. This pisses me off. Seriously. This pisses me off that they're using people who were raped and abused and trafficked and kidnapped to clout chase with, to try to get media attention on themselves. Like, these theatrics are going to bite them in the ass. This is not good. This is the stuff we're used to from the Democrats. This type of lying and deception. I did not vote for Donald Trump for him to come out and act like the last 4 years we just saw with transparency. I did not vote for him for that. I would have stayed home if I thought that Donald Trump was going to do the same shit that we saw for 4 years. And to be fair to him, he hasn't on everything. But this one is. This is the shit we were used to from Biden and Obama and Bush. This is more of the same. I don't like this at all. Say what you want about Matt Gaetz, but you bet your ass they would have got released with him had he been confirmed as AG. I mean, this was a golden opportunity that was squandered. This was a botched job. There's no way around it with these files. Because remember what I talked about, the 80-20 thing? The Democrats have positioned themselves by labeling Donald Trump. Well, number one, it was an opportunity squandered because we deserve to know who these people are, right? But the Democrats have put themselves in an awkward position. They've labeled Trump Hitler, therefore anything he does is the actions of Hitler, right? So they have to oppose anything and everything Hitler does. So Donald Trump had a golden opportunity to release a list of people who were who were involved in the sex trafficking of minors and secretly pulling the strings in this country, political and business elites. And when he released that list, everyone would have been talking about it. It would have been the number one story in the world. The Democrats would have had to make a statement on it. And many of them, not all of them, but many of them would have been forced into a corner where they had to defend the Epstein clients. I mean, you're talking not even 80-20, 95-5. Not even that, probably 99-1, honestly, when you're talking in terms of support. But the reason, there's two things that irritate me about this. And there's two things that bother me here about the way this was handled. So, like I said, before the election, Donald, and if you were watching impartially like we were, you weren't 100% certain that he was going to win, but you were feeling pretty good about a month up to the election. Donald Trump said, if you elect me, I'm going to release the files. After he got elected, he again reiterated, I'm going to release the files once we take office. He takes office. Kash Patel gets nominated as head of FBI. He says, if you nominate me, can you stop that? He says, if you nominate me, I'm going to release the files within the first 24 hours. Now, a lot of people see this as transparency, which is fine, but you also have to look at this from a strategic vantage point, right? Nobody expected you to release these files. Nobody voted for you for that reason on its own. But you can't very well run a campaign talking about how deep the corruption is rooted in these intelligence agencies and then give them 3 warnings about what you're going to do before you take office. I mean, that's what Trump did. He gave these people who were still running the show up until January, he gave these people 3 warnings about what they were going to do with these files when they got there. They had over 2 months to purge, delete, and sabotage every record they could with both Epstein and JFK. And the reason I know that is because Tuesday night, several FBI employees were arrested for destroying information pertaining to the Epstein and JFK files. So that shit's gone. We don't know what's in there, but whatever it is gone, and we will likely never know what it was, and those people will never be held to those people will never be brought to justice. Now, those agents should sit in a prison cell for the rest of their lives, at best. I mean, that's treason, what they've done there. At best. With that said, they botched this. You don't tell your enemy when you're going to make your move. That's what Biden did with the Taliban when he announced they were going to pull out of Afghanistan. And guess what happened? The Taliban was like, cool, we'll be ready to go the next day. And they took over. 20-some years wasted because Biden told them when he was going to make his move. If you're going to do it, get into office and do it. Don't go out screaming from the rooftops that you're going to do it. Because, guys, at best, this is incompetent. At worst, this is intentional. It's like they were intentionally tipping them off so that stuff would get destroyed, knowing they wouldn't have to release it. And there's a couple reasons why. I'm going to go into the big one that I think in a little bit here. But you don't scream it from the mountaintop. My honest opinion, I think this was about, just like with what we saw over the last week, this was about the spectacle. This was about clout-chasing theatrics. How do we get as much attention on us as possible? Ooh, Epstein files. There's a buzzword. Let's rile people up with that. Without even thinking about what might happen behind the scenes over the next 2 months before you take office. My guess is when Trump said that in, what was it, October? They started shredding files that day. So who knows what all's been covered up that we'll never know now. The second reason this pisses me off is that Patel said, again, it's the issue I've had with this administration a couple times that I keep telling you is going to bite us in the ass. Patel said, I will release the files within 24 hours of being approved. Well, a week went by before they released anything, and it wasn't the full drop. Now, they still released it, yes, but Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, you guys have worked in criminal justice for a long time. You guys understand that that's impossible. That's a promise you cannot keep. Just like saying you're going to lower grocery prices rather than saying we're going to get to a point where wage growth once again outpaces inflation. Just like saying I'm going to end the war in Ukraine in a day. Not going to end. Obviously, the war didn't end in the first day of that Trump took office. He's still going to get it ended, it looks like. He's still going to seal the deal over there and get a peace treaty struck. But still, I mean, you give people ammunition they can use on you. Even, like I said, Kamala Harris won. Absolutely no chance that war gets negotiated to an end. None. The Russia-Ukraine war wages on for years. We probably have NATO boots on the ground there by the end of 2026. Donald Trump's done a fantastic job negotiating. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I have no qualms with the way Donald Trump has handled the Russia-Ukraine situation. I think he's done a great job over there. But why did you have to tell people you'd get it done in a day? You could have just said, I'll get it negotiated. These people want to keep antagonizing Russia. They want to keep starting wars all over the world. You didn't have that with me. Let me go in there. I'll take care of it. I'm a deal maker. Why would you say this oversimplification shit is going to cause problems? Why would you come out and say, I'm going to get this done in a day? Why? You're Kash Patel. Like I said, you knew that you were not, there was no way in hell you were going to be able to get those documents out within 24 hours because odds are there are hundreds, if not thousands of pages of victims, people who were A, minors at the time, or B, may not be minors anymore, but now they have jobs and families and friends and everything, and they don't want that stuff to come out. So you're going to have to go in and redact all these names and check in with victims and all that. That's the responsible thing to do, at least. So he knew that 24 hours was completely implausible, and he promised it anyway. Stop oversimplifying things to sell them to people. Stop it. Because you're providing ammunition. Oh, Trump, why didn't you start the war in Ukraine? Or why didn't you stop the war in Ukraine in a day like you promised you would? Why are grocery prices higher? Yeah, inflation's been taken care of, and wage growth is outpacing grocery prices, but bacon's still higher than it was. Eggs are still higher than they were when you took office at a way slower rate than they were under Biden. But still, Kash Patel, why did you wait more than 24 hours to release it like you promised? Who was on that list that you were covering for? And that's what we're going to get to. There's two ways to look at this. Number one, and I think they can all honestly play into each other, but they're clout chasing, and they fucked up and didn't realize how many victims' names they were going to have to redact from it. Or number two, and here's what I think, there are a lot of ties between Jeffrey Epstein and Israel. And this administration is pro-Israel to a point it hurts. That's no secret. From the president to the Secretary of Defense to the Secretary of State, they're a little too pro-Israel for me. I don't have anything against Israel as a country. I support its right to exist. But they're a little too Israel. Not Don Bacon pro-Israel, to where you probably like Israel more than the United States. But the Israel shit gets a little creepy for me with this administration. So Jeffrey Epstein's got a couple of different ties to Israel. Number one, there was a guy named Ehud Barak who was a good friend of Epstein. He was a former prime minister and IDF general over in Israel. He was frequently seen at Epstein's properties, received financial investments from Epstein. He claimed he only visited him for legitimate business purposes and, distanced himself after the charges. You go ahead and do with that what you will. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, and also another close associate of Epstein, was a British media tycoon with ties to Israeli Mossad intelligence. He was accused of being an Israeli spy and reportedly facilitated Israeli intelligence operations. Also, you've got more speculation that Epstein, there's been quite a bit there, that Epstein himself was a Mossad agent coming over here, compromising politicians and business interests in the United States to get them to take a stronger pro-Israel stance. So what they do is they get you on video with the young girl and they go, okay, so how are you going to vote on that aid to Israel again, Congressman? I mean, it really is insane the amount of influence Israel has in this country. The fact that AIPAC is a thing, that you can form a political action committee to raise money on the behalf of the interests of a foreign government is insane to me. And we just let that slide. We wouldn't let that slide for any other country. Could you imagine Saudi Arabia PAC? So that's my theory, is that there were maybe a few too many roads leading back to Israel in this Epstein drop, and they want to make sure that all of those roads are blocked off and covered up before they go live with all of this, which I don't like. Listen, guys, if our so-called greatest ally was trafficking kids to compromise American politicians and business owners, don't you think that's something we should know about? I feel like that would be a good thing we know about before we send them another however many $1 billion. This wouldn't be the first time Israel's fucked around in us. Look up the USS Liberty, where they attacked one of our ships because we witnessed them committing a war crime. Yeah, that happened. They bombed our carrier in the ocean. They did it. Our greatest ally, though. Anna Paulina Luna, the congresswoman from Florida, the head of the Classified Document Release Committee in Congress, stated, I nor the on Twitter, you got to pull her tweet up real quick here. Yeah, that one. Nope. It should just be under the lead topic. She said, I nor the task force were given or reviewed the Epstein documents being released today. A New York Post story just revealed that the documents will simply be Epstein's phone book. This is not what we or the American people asked for, and a complete disappointment. Get us the information we asked for. Yeah, so it's the stuff we already knew about. And before we go spiking the football about flight logs when those come out, keep in mind there are two prominent members of this administration that were on those flight logs. Flight logs don't necessarily mean guilt. If they do, President Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have quite a bit of explaining to do. That's all I'll say. Because a lot of people took that plane. And they didn't all go to the island. We want to know who went to the island. More importantly, we want to know who went back to the island. Because there's a chance people got brought over there, went, what the fuck is this? And never came back. I want to know who took 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trips to Epstein's island. Those are the ones I want to know. But we're just going to get his phone numbers, which we already had, his phone book. And that's not including what's redacted in it. So phase 1, hope you all enjoyed it. Mia, do you have anything you want to add about phase 1 of the Epstein files?
Very disappointing.
But you kind of knew this was coming. You said it when I said the Epstein files were coming out. You were like, I'll believe it when I see it. We kind of figured this was going to be the case. I braced myself for disappointment, but I didn't think it would be done in such a shameful way. That's what pisses me off about this the most, is the way they went about doing it. I kind of figured when they said we're going to release, they didn't, to be fair, they didn't say that all of the Epstein files were coming out Thursday. They said they were going to release some of them. When I heard that, I assumed it was going to be what we got, which was basically just an organized list of everything we already knew, which is more or less what they did. Because his phone book doesn't mean shit. What I don't like is the way they're going about doing it, like it's some type of, limited series on Netflix. So it's phase 1. You got to wait for phase 2, comes out next Saturday on so-and-so's podcast to get him a bunch of hits. That is so shameful. It's like, I've told you guys a little bit what my background is outside of this. I won't go too far into it. But as someone who has combated human trafficking for a living, this is fucking disgusting to me. Like, this really upsets me that they made a spectacle out of this. This is repulsive, honestly. The way they did this. The way they tried to sell this like it's some type of cheap entertainment and generate clicks to people's accounts on Twitter and their podcasts and their radio shows and their YouTube channels. That is, and if you can't see how fucking gross that is, you need to take a step back and reevaluate your humanity. It is so gross. So gross. Anyway, that's been our lead topic. Stay tuned. We're going to get to a little bit more light for Store Brand TMZ. All right, it's time for Store Brand TMZ. Let's do it. Justin Bieber! All right, this week in Store Brand TMZ, we watched the Gabby Petito documentary series on Netflix. What did you think? What was it, 3 episodes? They're pretty quick, it's like 40 minutes each.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. I was kind of annoyed because I was like, oh, this is going to take forever, but they were pretty quick.
Yeah, they didn't draw it out. They were less shameful than the current administration. in the way they covered this girl's brutal murder. What do you think? Do you think the parents were involved?
I don't think they were at first, but I think once he killed her, he called mommy and daddy and was like, and told them everything. And I think from then on, they hid him out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I found it a little bit odd that you had, the police and the FBI and Dog the Bounty Hunter all out looking for this guy, and they couldn't find him. And then the parents go out and they find him within an hour. I find that a little odd. They just knew where to look.
Well,
and then you find a letter that apologizes, but lies as well. But the death, his love for this Gabby girl, how apologetic he was, none of that was the central theme to the letter. The central theme to the letter was all about how the parents should not be blamed. They were totally innocent and should be absolved of everything. Repeatedly, over and over and over again, do not blame my parents. Please don't blame my parents. I would like to see a handwriting comparison between the parents and this letter. That's all I'm saying.
It's the exact same handwriting.
It probably is. Listen, my big takeaway from the 120 minutes of this documentary is that the world is a better place without both of these people in it. I mean, he was a psycho, obviously, shot himself, goes without saying. She was so insufferable. I mean, she was like a crystal girl to the extreme, but just had full-blown... She really did seem impossible to deal with, did she not?
Yeah, I would honestly be kind of annoyed too if we were on a trip and all you were doing the entire time was recording videos.
Oh, no, I don't. The only time I've worked on a trip was when we were up in the mountains and we kind of used that and played into it. That was the only time. But that was a different story because we were in a remote location and we had to do something.
I wouldn't be so annoyed that I would kill you, though.
No,
I think he's justified in killing her.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if we were like, hey, we're going to go on a cruise. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to do a daily hour-and-a-half long podcast every single day on the cruise. You'd probably be a little annoyed with me, right? I would be annoyed with me. I don't want to think about this shit when I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's go watch it, I guess. If you didn't get enough of it, it does a nice job of compiling everything we already knew into a Netflix series, I guess. But I don't know. Did you like it or no?
I liked it.
I liked Dog's appearance on it.
You were waiting for that the entire time.
I was waiting for the big bad dog. I used to watch that show when I was a kid. I loved it. And then he had his racist rant and everything, and good time though.
I will say it was kind of creepy how they did the voice technology to bring her voice back and
that is weird.
Letters. That was weird.
That's weird how they can. Yeah. So I watched a Dr. Phil. God, I'm a middle-aged woman. I watched a Dr. Phil thing. He interviewed this guy who has created an AI, and you tell it about your dead loved one. And the AI will memorize everything, all of their personality traits, their interests, their quirks, everything like that. And then if you've got video or audio of that person talking, it'll mimic their voice and you can have conversations with your dead relative. Is that something I think that's an unhealthy coping mechanism. Is that something you would do? No, that's an unhealthy coping mechanism. Here's the thing. The more recordings you have of someone's voice, the easier it is, obviously, to mimic it with AI. If I go prematurely, there's going to be hundreds of hours of me recording. I want you guys to make my voice an AI, and I want you to commit crimes with it. I want you to prank call people and threaten their lives. Defraud the bank with just everything you can do. I want you guys to fuck with people with my voice on AI. I mean, what are you going to do? I'm dead. They're not going to come arrest me. You could have all my personal identifying information. Just screw with people. Michelle Trachtenberg has passed away at the age of 39. Do we know what she died of?
They haven't
Fentanyl?
released, no, they haven't released specifically what she died of, but she did just get a liver transplant and she was apparently having complications with that.
What was she in?
Oh, she was in, I don't think anybody listening would. She was an ice princess. That was like my favorite.
Our audience is a huge Ice Princess fan base. They love Ice Princess.
She was also in Buffy the Vampire Slayer when she was young.
And she couldn't slay her alcoholism, though, could she? Same.
And
Vampires aren't as tough. That's
she was
it.
in Gossip Girl.
Oh, Gossip Girl. That's, yeah, rest in peace, Michelle. Then we've got Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog were all found dead in the house. Signs of decay, so it'd been multiple days. Sounds like carbon monoxide to me. Guys, the alarms are $20 on Amazon. Go get them.
That's what happened to Brittany Murphy, supposedly.
Supposedly.
Yeah, is her house was had a bunch of black mold in it and it killed her. Because a couple months after, her husband ended up dying too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
This is also like supposedly what's been out there. So, I mean, I don't know, could not be true.
You guys, there's another carbon monoxide detector you can get if you don't trust the monitors or you're not a fan of them, whatever. Get a bird. Get like a parakeet and put it in whatever room you're most concerned about carbon monoxide leaks. And I'm telling you, that bird will be dead long before you even start to show signs. So you'll know to get the hell out of the house, you know, if the bird is dead and all of a sudden you're starting to get a little sleepy in the middle of the day. Maybe a little bit of nausea. It's a good, if I was ever, I remember we had a faulty carbon monoxide alarm go off one time at an apartment we used to live at. And I was like, fuck, do I need to get out of here? And then I looked at our Chihuahua and I was like, no, she's fine. She'd be fucking dead if I had anything to worry about here. So we're good. If it was to the point the alarm was going off. But all right, let's go to Hooters is filing for bankruptcy. Did you hear Hooters is filing for bankruptcy? You can't be a man in this country anymore. I mean, where are the boomers going to go to take awkward pictures with waitresses? I'm going to start treating every restaurant like it's a Hooters and asking the servers for pictures. What do you think?
Go for it.
Go to Long John Silver's. Come on over. Let's get a selfie real quick. I need this for my Facebook account.
I almost got my parents to go to Twin Peaks for dinner one day.
Did you know what it was?
Yeah.
Why did you want to go there?
Because I wanted to see their reaction.
That would be funny. How old were you?
It was a couple years ago.
Oh.
It was still when they're living in Arizona.
Oh.
Because it was like across the street from the mall we were at, and we were looking for a place to eat, and I was like, we should go there, and we almost did.
They didn't know what it was?
No, they didn't know what it was.
That's funny.
My dad probably would have had the time of his life.
Oh, he probably would have enjoyed himself. Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to admit that he enjoyed himself.
His face would have been so red the entire time.
Yeah. Next up, we've got the actor from Stranger Things who plays the villain Vecna. Says it fucks me up playing a villain. And he says he's probably not going to do it for a while because it's been so traumatic. Says, what's his name here? Henry Creel says, it's funny. I was talking to my therapist the other day. I'm not lying. We were going through some stuff and he was like, we really need to make sure that you carve out time for you whenever you're working next. I turned around and was like, yeah, to be honest with you, man, I just don't think I'll be doing another bad guy for a minute. It fucks me up. I'm dead serious. What are we doing here? Who is the one from American Horror Story that played Dahmer?
Evan Peters.
Yeah, he said after American Horror Story, he's like, it traumatizes me too much to play a villain and a killer. I got to stop doing it. And then he immediately took a role as Jeffrey Dahmer. It's like, obviously the money talks, right? A little bit more than the trauma.
Well, I think Ryan Murphy must have something on him because he made both the Dahmer and American Horror Story.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, that's, who knows? But yeah, I mean, these kids, dude, you're a fucking actor. You play pretend for a living. That's all you do. You dress up, you read lines. It doesn't even require critical thought.
To be fair, a lot of Evan Peters' characters, like every season, was very dark. And then to go to doing that show, like having to get in the mindset, because he does he's one of those people that do method acting, I think.
I talk about pedophiles in war 3 times a week. I'm fine. These kids act like that, just like the Starbucks workers. They act like being an actor is comparable to fighting in a World War I trench. It's crazy. We got 2 more for Store Brand TMZ. Have you heard this Mary-Kate Corbett drama? It's this girl who went to LSU and the allegation, or not LSU, excuse me, Ole Miss. And the allegation has been that she slept with her boyfriend's dad and the boyfriend stayed with her. Now, this, for whatever reason, has absolutely blown up on Twitter. I guess people don't have anything better to talk about. I don't know why, but it's blown up to the point they've doxed the father, the boyfriend, the mother. Everyone has been doxed. They've alleged that the father has actually got her drunk and tried to sleep with her and tried to rape her. A whole bunch of different allegations. The family's now come out and said it wasn't true. And anyone who reports on it as an objective fact is going to get sued. And you had like legitimate podcasts and shows talking about this. And I'm just like, guys, let this be a lesson. These aren't celebrities. These are private individuals whose names and reputations you just drug through the mud. I don't know if it's true or not. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to report on it. You can't just trash people's reputations because the internet blew it up. And these wannabe sleuths on Twitter told you that this is what was going on here. I hope they do get sued. I don't know if the girl slept. That would be kind of funny if she slept with her boyfriend's dad and he stayed with her. Kind of sad as well. But yeah, just, you haven't heard anything about this, really?
No.
Like, dude,
I don't see why it's like blowing up. I feel
like
that happens a lot.
Yeah, someone took pictures of somebody's smartphone in class, and they were talking about it. And the girl's been getting harassed and threatened and all types of stuff ever since this has blown up. And I'm just like, first off, she's a pretty little white girl that goes to Ole Miss. Of course her parents have money. They're going to sue the daylights out of all of you, you fucking idiots. And now you're running with this like it's an objective fact. Yeah, it just blew up. Now, there was a girl who I believe her name was Selena. This was years ago. Selena Green Vargas, I think her name was. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. The reason it's okay to go public with her name is because there's a picture of her with her boyfriend who's shipping off to the military. And then there's a picture of her on an amateur porn couch in the exact same outfit she wore with the boyfriend. You don't remember that one? That's a long-running meme. I don't remember when it got started. But yeah, that's been going on for a while. Been a bit for a little bit. She was the OG, of women that the internet has just decided to despise. We've got one more here. A Donald Trump impersonator ambushed Alec Baldwin on the streets in New York City, and man, was it fucking hilarious. Go ahead, check this out.
Alec, it's your favorite president. Look, Alec, I will offer you a total pardon, because I want to be friends, right? I want to be friends. I will give you a total pardon for murdering that woman if you kiss the ring. Kiss the ring, Alec. Kiss the big, beautiful ring. Come on, Alec. Come on, look at Alec Baldwin, right? He did that impersonation of me. It was not too hot, not too good. But look, we're back in office. You lost. Kamala lost. She's somewhere getting intoxicated. Look at that suitcase. Unbelievable. Well, Alec, if you don't want that pardon for murdering that woman in cold blood, you can call it first degree, you can call it whatever you want, but it was not good. She's looking down on me right now, smiling, happy. Thank you for confronting the man who took me out, who killed me, and that's okay.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
No, you realize, but
Whoa.
no, look at me. I want you to look at me.
Sure.
You got a camera on me here?
The ring, no, it's the ring.
But you realize my kids live in this building, right? But I want you to know something.
We love the children. We're doing great deals for the children.
So be real careful.
Okay.
If this camera was here, I'd snap your fucking neck in half and break your fucking neck right there. So you know that, don't you?
Okay. All right, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, ladies and gentlemen, class act. Believe me. Believe me.
I want you to get out of here.
Okay.
No, I want you to get out of here.
Oh, he's yelling at me. I'm a citizen of this. I was born and raised in New York City. I love you, Alec. Alec, look, Alec, you don't want to attack your favorite president, Alec. Look, I love you. I love you, Alec. He's got more balls than De Niro, that I can tell you. De Niro ran away. Alec confronted. That's good. He's strong, but also he's weak because he murdered a woman. So that's okay, right? Look at this guy.
What do you think? Did he go too far confronting him out in front of his house? What do you think?
I mean, he shouldn't have done that with his children.
The children weren't there.
He said they lived. He was like talking very loud.
Okay, let me tell you. Have you heard that voicemail of Alec Baldwin screaming at his daughter? I promise you that a Donald Trump impersonator is nowhere near as traumatic as what they've experienced from their father. So that excuse is out the window.
I don't know. I just think it's very cringy when people go up and like harass people on video.
People, yes. Celebrities, I don't have as much of a problem with it. Because I mean he does the impressions. I don't know. I agree. I think it was probably too far going to the guy's house. But I still laughed my ass off for murdering that woman. The way he ends it, he's got all the mannerisms and he's like, but that's okay. Anyway, that's been Storebrand TMZ. Storebrand TMZ today was brought to you by Hot Salt, Firecracker.farm. Promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, brings you 10% off your order at the checkout. Hot Salt, combination. I should get Hunter on here to do all of the ads as Trump. That's what we should start to. Hot Salt gets you 10%, or Hot Salt is a combination of Carolina Reaper, Scorpion Pepper, and Ghost Pepper, along with Mediterranean sea salt, made on a handcrafted on a family farm with love. Firecracker.farm, not .com.org or .net, Firecracker.farm. Hot Salt goes great on everything. Use the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, to save yourself 10% off your order at the checkout. Okay. We'll see you in like 2 minutes for As the World... No, 2 seconds for As the World Burns. Stay tuned. All right, before we get into trending this week, big shout out to our sponsors, Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com, promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show. Save you 15% off your order on gifts for the Patriot in your life. Tactilian.com has all kinds of pro-America merchandise, stuff for you, stuff for your vehicle, stuff for your home and office, stuff for your dog. Maybe they have baby onesies? I don't know. I haven't been on the website in a while. It was founded by a former member of law enforcement who wanted to make a difference. And guess what? Not only do you save 15% off your order at the checkout with the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, you're also going to help build homes for wounded veterans. Part of the proceeds go to that as well. We all love to bitch about the homeless crisis going on in this country. Well, guess what? You can do something to directly affect that, and you'll also put a little bit of money into my pocket. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com, promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show. It's going to save you 15% off your order at the checkout. Okay, let's talk As the World Burns. So it looks like we have got a deal on the horizon that would end the Russia-Ukraine, can we call it beef? Do you think beef is a good way to describe what's gone on over there for the last 3 years? It would end the Russia-Ukraine beef. But not only would it do that, Kiev would now give 50% of future mineral revenue to a joint fund with the United States, but get no security guarantees from the U.S. and NATO in return, which is a huge deal. I mean, if this comes to fruition, which it sounds like it's going to, this would be one of the greatest fleece jobs in the history of trades in favor of the United States. Like, it's about time somebody else gets taken advantage of. You know what I mean? Like, this would be like the Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic trade. Right up there with it. Just flat out scammed. One side. And you know what? If they want to agree to it, because here's the thing. Ukraine sees the writing on the wall. And they know that it's not only is it not a popular policy for them to continue fighting over there, it's not a winning policy. They're not going to win. And they need to look for a way out. And I think they're starting to realize that they overplayed their hand. A couple of months ago, they might not have had to give all this up. Now, granted, a couple of months ago, they were in a tough position as well, because you had an administration that had no desire to see this war end. In fact, multiple times, Ukraine had actually worked out peace deals on their own with Russia, and the Biden administration intervened and said, no, don't do that. You can't do that, because they were directly profiting off the war. Now, on top of this, Vladimir Putin said if the sanctions get dropped and the market reopens between the United States and Russia, he's going to supply the U.S. with over 2 million tons of aluminum. I don't know how we can be mad about this. How are people upset about this? The flip side would have been Kamala winning, and you would have had this war continue, and they would have continued to egg Russia on for years. The United States wouldn't have gotten this sweet deal with the minerals. We wouldn't have gotten all these... because here's the thing, whether you guys like it or not, Russia and Ukraine, but Russia is a very, very natural resource-rich country. Oil, metal, all types of stuff over there. It is in our benefit to be able to trade with them. It absolutely is. Whether there's a tariff on it or not, it doesn't matter. To have that market is critical for American enterprise. We wouldn't have gotten any of this with Kamala Harris. They wouldn't even have let them negotiate. They would have let this war go on, and millions of Ukrainians and eventually other Europeans would have been killed, and Russians would have been killed for their corporate greed. But these are promises made, promises kept, man. This is what they're doing here. This is what I voted for. The Epstein shit, the way that debacle went down, not what I voted for. This is what I voted for. Someone who's going to make deals. Someone who, we may never be best friends with Russia. We'll at least be on speaking terms with them. Be that guy in the gym locker room that you give the quiet nod to when you see. Not best friends. You're not going to hang out outside of the gym. You're not going to get into deep 30-minute conversations in the sauna that fuck your workouts up. But there's a mutual respect there, and you're not going to mess with each other. That's all I want with Russia. That's all you should want, too, with a nuclear superpower that's obviously a little aggressive. That's it. But now here's the horror. Newsweek's really upset right now, and they're really concerned because they said, and I quote, there are concerns that the Ukrainian president could be voted out of office if the country holds an election. Now, he's refused to have elections for years, postponing them, saying it's not time, we can't do it. As it turns out, guys, this is how elections work. If you're not liked and you're not popular, there is a legitimate chance that you get voted out in a free and fair election. I love how the defenders of democracy are sitting there going, we can't have an election. By the way, Donald Trump and Republicans are a threat to our democracy. But here's why Ukraine can't have an election. And if they do, it needs to be a rigged one. Totally not what we would do here in the United States. It says Newsweek.com, Zelensky could be ousted as Trump demands Ukraine election. There are concerns the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky could be ousted from office after President Trump said that Kiev should hold elections. What a concept. What a concept. By the way, like I said on the show last week, The United States, during the Civil War, held elections. During the War of 1812, held elections. During World War II, held elections. Never has the United States of America, even when we've been invaded by a foreign superpower, postponed our elections. Hasn't happened. We did it during COVID. We've never postponed our elections. For whatever reason, Ukraine's the exception. We can't ask why. And if you point out why you point out that maybe there's a little bit of a concern there, you're a Russian sympathizing fascist. That's what they tell me. I don't know. I think that Zelensky should hold an election, because here's the thing. That would be a mandate on what's going on over there. If people in Ukraine are as supportive of this war as you guys claim they are, he'd win in a landslide. He should have nothing to fear from holding an election. But the fact that he doesn't want to tells me everything I need to know. That those people over there either A, don't support this war at all, or B, think he's totally mismanaging the situation and it's time for some new leadership. So hold the election, President Zelensky. What do you got to lose? Let's go to Caleb Holds Up the Mirror real quick. Fun down to the next one. We have got, okay, perfect. So we got two things we're going to talk about this week for Caleb Holds Up the Mirror. Not like the lead topic wasn't that as well, but we're going to criticize some folks on our side. So there are rumors emerging after Elon Musk and DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, have identified billions, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of waste, fraud, and abuse going on within the federal government. They have floated the idea of sending every American taxpayer a check for $5,000 as a refund from the waste the federal government's. Now, I know people out there see that and they're like, holy shit, I could do a lot with $5,000. And it's true, we all could. But I think we need to learn from the stimulus checks from COVID. A lot of the rampant, and not all of it, but a lot of the rampant inflation that we dealt with over the last couple of years is because during COVID, we just printed money to send out to people in checks, and part of that was Trump's fault. I think we should learn from our mistakes, and that's a two-way. That's two different ways learning from our mistakes. Learn from our mistakes from what we did during COVID and not just print money and send people checks. I also think that we should learn from our mistakes on things we've spent money on in the past and move forward. Okay, great. You've identified the waste. We've cut it. Let's not spend more money. Let's pay this toward all the money we're saving. Let's pay this toward the deficit because we owe like 30-some trillion dollars right now. Let's pay off the debt. I mean, this is like if your job gives you a $5,000 bonus. It's real tempting to go on vacation. It's real tempting to go out to a real nice, maybe you go out to a real nice restaurant and then put the rest away. But it's real tempting to go out and buy a bunch of new clothes on a shopping spree, video games, and all this crazy shit. But if you got $6,000 in credit card debt, you should probably put that bonus toward the credit card. Then you can start saving up for those things, and that'll free up a lot of your money, but you should pay the credit card off first with the bonus money before you go on the shopping spree and vacation. Do you agree with me?
Unfortunately.
She does. She agrees with me. So I think we should do something similar here on the macro side of things as a government. And rather than go on a spending spree buying votes from people, which is really all this would be, I think we should go, you know what? We fucked up. That was a waste of taxpayer money. We're cutting it. We're not going to spend it again. We're going to pay this debt off so that, you know, your children's children won't be paying it off someday. How about that? How about you? Here's something you could do with it. You could put it toward Social Security. All we hear about is how Social Security, if they don't strike some kind of deal that's going to extend it, Social Security is going to be null and void by the 2030s. Why don't you put it toward that? That would be a popular thing to do. It would solve a long-term problem. There you go. Look, I'm the idea guy. Why don't they hire me? I'm the idea guy. $250,000 a year. I'll work harder than all your fucking federal employees. Let's do it. Do you think they'd hire me as the White House press guy? The White House press secretary?
I think so.
One day. Just let me fill in for one day. When that blonde girl with the heavies is gone, like maybe she's out sick or something. Let me go in there one day and do it. Just let me roast the shit out of him. Could you imagine how that would go? The guy raises his hand. He's like, so you guys have laid off so-and-so. I'm like, you're a fucking fag, dude. Shut up, retard. How did you get this job? Just talk shit. I don't answer the question. I just talk shit to him. We got one more here for Caleb Holds Up the Mirror. The Tate brothers are in the United States. I don't have anything on. There's nothing there. You're good. Andrew and Tristan Tate are in the U.S. after the Romanian government lifted their travel ban for the human trafficking allegations. You guys know I'm not a big fan of them. I've been critical of them from the right. I think it's really, really odd that I see a lot of so-called Christian conservatives worshiping a Muslim pimp the way they do. And that's what he is. Now, do I necessarily believe he did the things that the Romanian government is saying he did? No, I don't. With that said, I do believe he's done a lot of the things that have come out of his own mouth. And that on its own, we've done a whole 30-minute segment where we played the videos years ago. Those things on their own are enough for me to keep my distance from this guy, to never want to associate myself with anything about him. I just, what's the point, guys? Can someone explain to me the logic of throwing people out of the country that are registered sex offenders who are here illegally, which I fully support, by the way, but then welcoming in other people who are under investigation for the same thing, but because we like their YouTube videos and we agree with some of their political beliefs, that's okay. Because here's the thing, guys. If somebody who was away, whether the Tates are guilty or not doesn't matter. If somebody who was actively being investigated for human trafficking charges in Nicaragua tried to come to the United States, MAGA and everybody else on the right would throw a fit, as we should, because that person is not someone who, not somebody we want here. But because it's Andrew and Tristan Tate, that's okay, because they're based, right? They're based. No, they're not based. They're people that all of you should avoid, like the plague, because that's really what it is, because the most dangerous lie is one that's coated in truth, and that's what Andrew Tate tells. It's really his entire brand there. Says a lot of things that make sense. 60 to 70% of the things he says, I agree with. And normally that's enough for me to be like, okay, you're a cool person. But the other 20 or 30 to 40% of the things he says and does are so bad that I keep my distance. So if we're going to be the party of family and Christian values, I don't think welcoming the Muslim pimp with open arms is the way to go. What do you think, Mia? Are you excited the Tates are back?
I'm so excited.
Are you? Should we go out and party with them in Florida? Go out to the bars with him or something like that? I mean, he really is. He's not based, guys. He's not based at all. It disturbs me that I see a lot of young Christian men that look up to this guy, Christian conservative young men that look up to this guy, and it really shows a lack of a father figure. And that's unfortunately been replaced with this guy, who he's pushing Islam, narcissism, the objectification of women, materialism, just nothing good. And every time we criticize this guy, his fanboys come in the comments because they know I'm talking about them. He's not pushing anything good on you. There's nothing based about him. Nothing. You want an alternative? Dry Creek Wrangler School on YouTube. I tell you all the time. I love his coffee too. Okay, that's been Caleb Holds Up the Mirror. Stay tuned. We got trending this week coming up. We're keeping these shows from here on out under 2 hours. We are not, I've got a stopwatch going. We are not to exceed 2 hours per Mia's rules. If we get to like an hour 55 and I'm looking at the stopwatch and I've still got 3 segments, we'll do a Sunday show, but we'll give you a heads up, okay? So stay tuned. We got trending this week coming up next. All right, well, this week for trending this week, Elon Musk sent out an email that riled the federal government employees up. Riled them up. He said, you are to respond to me with a 5-bullet point list of everything you accomplished at work this week. If you do not reply, I will take that as your resignation. And federal workers lost their ever-loving minds about it. Lost their minds about it. I saw someone on TikTok say that this must be what it's like to live in North Korea. Yes, North Korea is well known for mandating that its citizens reply to emails if they want to keep their job. That's the big human rights violation going on over there in North Korea. That's the big deal over there, right? I mean, look, guys, you could always just reply to the email, because all of you listening to this that work in the private sector, you can vouch this isn't that far out of the ordinary. Now, this particular email right here may be a little bit blunt. Oh, sorry. Click on the Elon email one. We're on the wrong. Yeah, there it is. This may be a little bit blunt, but it's the truth. This is how we have to operate in the private sector. And I'm not doing it from the mindset of, oh, I have to do it, so you do too. No, that's not it. There's a reason they do this. Most companies don't do things for funsies, right? They don't do process things like this for funsies. They do it because it works. They want to know if their employees are getting shit done at work. And if you really, I tell you what, if you really can't think of 5 things you did at work this week, maybe we don't need your job. Also, if one email can cause you this much stress, maybe you're not cut out for this work. Maybe you need to go do something else. If getting an email saying, hey, what did you get done this week, can bring you guys to the point where you get this emotional and this upset, maybe you're in the wrong field. Am I off the base here? I'm like, what am I doing? What are we doing? It's an email, and I understand not everyone can reply directly to it. Some of them need to reply to their superiors because there's classified stuff that can't be sent out. I get that. I understand there are some roles where they can't do it. But that's how it should have been addressed. Spurging out and melting down because you're finally being held accountable for the first time in your life is not the way to go about this. I mean, and that's really what it is. And I would never say that all federal government employees are worthless. I don't even think most of them are. But there's enough of them that it's obviously a problem. And you've got enough people that have been doing nothing for so long unchecked that it's causing this type of reaction. Think about it this way. This is the level of entitlement you're seeing from some of these people. They can't believe that you, the taxpayer, have the audacity to want to know if your tax dollars are being well spent. How dare you? What's the matter with you? I love the double standard for how the left's freaking out about this. So when Joe Biden told all the federal employees and federal contractors that if you don't take the COVID vaccine, you're fired, they thought that was a good thing. But when Donald Trump says, hey, if you don't do your job, you're fired, that's a bad thing. So fired for doing your job, bad. Fired for not taking the experimental poison vaccine, good. Just so we're clear here. I think what you're seeing here, I think the reason so many of them are having such a harsh reaction to this is I don't think a lot of these people actually thought this was coming. Because this is my thing, is it's I feel bad for people on the micro level. I don't want to see anybody lose their job and, you know, or have to worry about losing their job and wondering how they're going to pay their bills. I don't like to see, because we've all been there and it sucks. I don't want to see that. But on the macro level, all these people that are freaking out, it's kind of hard to feel bad for you guys, because he said before the election, we're going to cut the government. We're going to reduce the size of the federal government. Hello, reducing the size of the federal government involves cutting jobs. And then after he got elected, when he got sworn in. He said, hey, I'm really going to do it. I'm really going to reduce the size of the federal government. And in fact, I'm so intent on reducing the size of the federal government that if you resign right now, I'll give you 8 months worth of pay. And they stayed. And now they're saying, hey, we're going to cut the size of the federal government by 30 to 40% in March. You're probably going to get fired. There's a good chance. And they can't believe it. You guys have been warned so many times. If I stand on train tracks, eventually the train's going to hit me. I mean, these guys, they went to the train tracks. They stood on them. Somebody drove by, said, hey, probably not a good idea to be standing there. Those are train tracks and they're live. And they turned around and went, no, the train's not coming. And they got comfortable there. They sat down and they set up a little picnic on the train tracks. And then another car drives by. He goes, hey, there's a train like 5 miles away. There's no stops between here and there. It's coming. Oh, no, I'll be fine. It's not going to hit me. Because they're so used to politicians not following through on their word. They finally got one who was going to. And then all of a sudden, the railroad crossing fences go down. The lights start flashing. The tracks raise up. And somebody sees them sitting there enjoying their peanut butter sandwich. And they're like, hey, man, you better get off the tracks because the train's coming. It's almost here. Oh, stop it. The train, this is bullshit. This is theatrics. The train's not coming. They're full of shit. The railroad lies all the time. They're not coming. Now, all of a sudden, they're looking right down the barrel of a train. Looking right down the tracks, and there's a train coming right for them. You know, there's an old saying about a guy in a flood. House starts flooding. Neighbor drives up to his house, goes like, come on, or there's a hurricane, right? And whole city's flooding, or it's under flood warning. Neighbor says, hey, man, hop in the car. I'll take you home, or I'll take you over to my aunt's house 3 hours north of here. You'll be safe. No. God will save me. God will save me. And then the first level of his house floods, and he goes up to the second floor. Somebody comes by in a boat, a rescue boat. They're like, come on, hop in. Let's go. And he goes, no. God will save me. And the second floor floods. He's up on his roof. Helicopter comes by. Says, come on, dude, get in. He goes, no. God will save me. Then it gets up to his neck, and he drowns. And he gets to heaven, and he's all pissed off at God. He's like, why did you let me drown? God's like, what are you talking about? I didn't let you drown. I sent you a car, a boat, and a helicopter. You didn't take any of them. You let yourself drown. That's what this is. You've had the car, you've had the boat, you've had the helicopter. Now the flood's at your neck. And this is a result of politicians not keeping their promises. So I think unless you were like us, which many people weren't, and you were looking at it impartially, seeing where the money was getting spent, seeing the poll trends and where these people were campaigning at, I think a lot of these people were totally blindsided. They thought, no way in a million years is he going to win. And if he does, it'll be just like it was in 2016 where he can't keep most of his promises. Well, here you are. Here you are. And it sucks that people are going to have to go through this. But the sympathy levels are minimized because you've had so many chances now. And here's the thing, guys. When this isn't anything revolutionary or new, what Trump's doing with the federal government. When Bill Clinton took over, he reduced the size of the federal government, or reduced federal employment, by almost 20%. And guess what? It worked. They had a booming private sector. It was the last time this country actually had a surplus in the budget rather than a deficit. Inflation was relatively low. It worked. Then Bush took over, and him and Obama just went on this 16-year spending spree like they were spoiled teenagers with dad's credit card, and got us into this hole. And Biden is to blame for a lot of this too, because all the job growth that Biden has bragged about, or that he did brag about when he was in office, nearly 80% of that job growth was federal employees. They were just making up jobs to give to people to keep the unemployment rate low. And that's disgusting. That's disgusting. They were manipulating the unemployment rate by just making up jobs for people who weren't doing a full day's work. They were work from home 24/7. They had nothing. They didn't have any responsibilities. Biden wanted to give people $50,000 to $60,000 a year jobs with great benefits on the taxpayer's dime so he could say, look at our unemployment levels. Biden played a major role in this. Biden led a lot of people on and made a lot of empty promises that were inevitably going to come back to bite him in the ass. And he's to blame for a lot of this too. It's like I said last week, guys, this is the shock therapy. You were told in 2016 to start eating healthier and start moving around more. And you did it for a while. And then in 2020, you went back to your old ways. And in 2024, you had the heart attack finally. And the shock therapy, the open heart surgery, it's not fun. And yeah, it's a little risky, but it's necessary. And hopefully, if you stick to it, you're going to come out better on the other side. But after that, you got to make some real lifestyle changes. No more eating like shit. No more smoking. You got to start going to the gym. You missed the opportunity to live healthy and manage your condition or outright cure it with lifestyle changes. This is where we're at now. This has to happen. We're ripping the bandage off. It's time. Okay, let's go to the next one. Which one should we talk? You pick the topic. Which one do you want to talk about, Mia? Mia wants to talk about the Pope. What do you know about what's going on with the Pope? Tell us. What's going on with the Pope? Do you know?
Me?
Yeah, you. You picked it.
I mean, I thought you knew more than me. I know he's sick.
Well,
and
I
he's
always
out.
do, but no, I'm kidding. What were you going to say?
I was just saying, I know he's sick and he's probably going to die.
Well, he seems to be recovering from it. His condition seems to be stable. I don't know how stable you can be at 88 years old with kidney failure and pneumonia, but it's as stable as it gets. And I know there's a lot of people on both sides of the political sphere, which it's weird to celebrate, or not even celebrate, but to view the Pope's death from a political lens at all is really weird and gross to me. And that's from both sides. But to my friends on the right who believe that we're going to get this new conservative Pope because that's the way that the world and the church are trending. Yes, it is true the church at the base level is trending conservative. However, what you have to realize is the College of Cardinals is who picks the Pope. The Catholics don't just have an election where you can go and vote for the next Pope. That would be actually kind of fun if they did. But the College of Cardinals picks the Pope. As of February in 2025, per America Magazine, Pope Francis has appointed 79% of the electors in the College of Cardinals. So he stacked the deck. So the next Pope is almost guaranteed to be just as, if not more liberal than him. So I don't see where this conservative Pope's going to come from, because it's certainly not coming from the people that are going to elect him. Who do you think's going to be the new Pope?
I mean, I don't know any of the cardinals, so I don't know.
Biden's Catholic. What if Biden could be the new Pope? He's not doing anything.
You have to be a cardinal.
Cardinal Biden. How do we fast track him? What does he have to do? Cardinal Biden could be the next Pope. He's not busy. I think it'd be a good gig for him. He's already got the executive leadership experience. He's Catholic. He's old. Those should be the only 3 requirements to be Pope. Pope Biden. Could you imagine? Do you think that would be an easier or harder job than president?
Probably be harder for him because he won't have people doing, like, speaking for him and stuff.
That's true. That's true. I wonder how his wife could run the show like she did when he was in office. Let's go to the next one. Let's talk about, I don't know. Should talk about the intelligence agencies. Oh my God. So some of the releases from these intelligence agency group chats here are in freaking sane. So if you guys missed it, there were some text message group chats from people who worked for the NSA and a couple different intelligence agency operations. And oh my God, it has been totally hijacked. The NSA, the CIA, the DIA have been totally hijacked by left-wing radical progressives, or as we call it, the Cloward Piven strategy, where they hijack all of these institutions, drive them to the ground, and then rebuild the country in their communist idealism. So it says the NSA maintains a chat system. This is from Christopher Rulo on Twitter. Did a thread of all these different leaks. So the NSA maintains a chat system for the intelligence community called Interlink. The server is supposed to be used for government work, but gender activists within the agencies have hijacked 2 channels to discuss fetishes, kink, and sex, all legitimized as DEI. One popular chat topic was male to female transgender surgery, says, which involves surgically removing blah, blah, blah. These male intelligence agencies love the feeling of penetration and peeing with their pseudo vaginas. This is an actual quote from an intelligence agency operative on their, these are the federal employees that we're supposed to feel bad for, right? Says, I mean, honestly, the rest is nice too. Wearing panties without worrying about anything showing, seeing my reflection in the mirror, wearing leggings, etc. But the pee thing is something I never thought of. It's really nice. Mine is everything. I found that I like being penetrated. Never liked it before in the ass, but all the rest is just as important as well. All I can say, it was 1,000,000% worth it. Despite having to fly to Thailand, pay out of pocket in the recovery, I would not change anything if I had to do it over again. How many trannies have infiltrated the intelligence agencies? How fucked are these? Are the people that are listening to your phone calls? This is the NSA. This is the NSA, the people that have a blanket warrant to look at your phone and look at the shit in your cloud and listen to your phone calls and read your text message without you knowing. Yeah, so that nudie pic you sent to your boyfriend or girlfriend, these freaks are looking at it. Congratulations. That picture of your kids at the beach, these freaks have access to it. If it's sitting on your Facebook, if it's sitting on the cloud, these perverts have it. Congrats. Here's another. This is my favorite one right here. We pulled it. This is, I'm not going to read all of them. You can go read the thread if you want to. This is my favorite one right here. It says they discuss their desire to have hermaphrodite babies. Now, hermaphrodite is someone who's born with both genders in order to advance trans ideology. They say, and I quote, an intersex birth would be a great opportunity to raise a kid as non-binary and let them choose later. Legitimately. That's what the people say, or the people that are running these intelligence agencies are talking about. How they want to have a hermaphrodite baby, which is a birth defect, by the way, an intersex baby, so that they can brainwash the kid into being non-binary. These are their priorities. These are the people that are supposed to be keeping this country safe from threats, both foreign and domestic. Mia, do you feel safe? Does this make you feel safe?
I feel safer than ever.
That some guy who gets off on looking at himself in panties in the mirror is the only thing standing between you and a suicide bomber? Says NSA whistleblower says about 10 years ago, they started doing the employee resource groups, African-American Veterans Pride, etc. It was just a meeting here and there, almost like a potluck, culture, food, and a speech. Then it started to get more and more. Instead of just 1 day a month, it was 1 week a month or the whole month. You could be hired as a mathematician, a staff officer, or a system engineer, but you would spend your time going to these events and having meetings all day about it. They got themselves into a position to help craft policy and start pushing the idea that if you want to get promoted, you have to participate in these events. And then everything became pride. You would go to a training and it would be about privilege and how to be a better ally. This is for the NSA, by the way, the National Security Agency, that, again, has the warrant to wiretap all of our phones if they want to, which I disagree with entirely, but they still supposedly have the warrant to do it through the Patriot Act. So there's that. These are the people that are supposed to be protecting us from terrorist threats, holding month-long meetings about how to be a better LGBTQ ally. Said a lady would give classes on how to talk how to talk gender neutral to people. You had analysts that didn't want to do the reporting they were supposed to be doing because they were going to have to report on somebody's dead name. They were having this crisis of conscience about reporting the adversary's actual name because they thought it was their dead name and they didn't want to disrespect the person. It was a cult that was hell-bent on pushing gender ideology. It's going to get people killed in the field. I mean, this is crazy. This is the problem with this gender ideology shit and why I don't believe that, it's not hurting anybody. Because it's not hurting anybody until it is. When it's some weird autistic kid on TikTok, yeah, it's not really hurting anybody. It's cringy, it's annoying, we all make fun of it, but nobody's getting killed by that. When it's people working for the fucking intelligence agencies that are supposed to be protecting us from terrorist threats, then it becomes a real concern. When it's people setting like actual policies that affect our day-to-day lives, then it's no longer not affecting anything. It's actually making our lives worse. It's actually putting people in danger. When it begins to affect the decision-making of healthcare officials, and you bet your fucking ass that it already is. Don't even think for a second that it's not. It's no longer, and I quote, not hurting anybody. It becomes a real problem. This gender shit is not a victimless crime. There are two victims in this situation. Number one, there's the kids that they're pushing it on, that they're brainwashing and pushing toward an ideology that prior to them pushing a bunch of awkward kids on it already attempted suicide at 41%. Those are victim number one. Number two are the rest of us that have to deal with the long-term consequences of this shit getting shoveled into all of our institutions. It's a real problem. It's not a victimless crime. It's a bunch of mental cases that a sane country would have put in an asylum a long time ago. But for whatever reason, they fucking handed them the keys to the car. And they're doing that on purpose. Like I said, it's the Cloward Piven strategy. There are folks that pull the strings in this country that have some very, very nasty and evil intentions. And their goal is to drive it into the ground so they can rebuild it the way they want it to be. And this gender shit is the spearhead of it. It's the speed that they're dividing families. They're making people question left from right. It is a disaster, and it is 100% on purpose. It's straight out of Maoist China. We did a whole show on that a couple years ago. You pick the next topic. What do you want to talk about? Oh, Elon's new baby mama. So this is drama. Elon's new baby mama. So she is now suing him, Ashley St. Clair, for full custody of the kid and child support. And he's been quiet on this. He hasn't confirmed nor denied whether or not this is his kid. She wants a DNA test and child support and custody and all this shit. Well, one of her friends, so-called friends, not a very good friend, released some text message screenshots where she was texting, this Ashley St. Clair was allegedly texting her saying, oh my God, Elon Musk just followed me. Quick, I need to say something funny so I can have his rocket babies, blah, 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 stuff like that. Is that girl talk, or do you think she actually wanted to get knocked up?
I think that's just girl talk.
I don't disagree, but when you actually go through with it, then the court's going to see that a little bit differently as like a baby trap. So I don't know. I don't know where this goes. I do have a problem with her because she's a conservative influencer, basically trapping a guy and trying to get pregnant from him so she can raise the kid and get the child support money. Again, family values. That's not family values. That's not conservative Christian values, just like the Tate brothers. I do have a real problem with this. It bothers me that we're just going to look past this because it's one of our own. Now, at the same time, obviously, I don't care all that much about people's personal lives based on who I vote for. I voted for Donald Trump, right? I don't care if Elon Musk is a choir boy. Just like Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, all these guys. I don't care, for the most part, what they do in their personal lives. Are they going to get the job done? I don't care how many kids out of wedlock Elon Musk has. If he slashes the federal government, good. Have 10 more if you want to. I don't know. But I think it's weird that we celebrate and give credence to people like her. That's all I'll say. I think, well, there was also a thing. He's supposedly only paying, he's trying to sue in Texas so that he can only pay his ex-girlfriend like $2,600 a month in child support, Grimes or whatever, the singer. He really is an African American. You know what I mean? I mean, how many baby mamas ducking out on child support?
And you ain't black.
He really is, because he's from South Africa, for those of you who didn't get the joke. My God, you bunch of squares. How'd you not get the joke? I don't know. It just bothers me a little bit. That's all. This whole thing bothers me a little bit. It also, because there was some text messages he had sent to her where he was talking about how after they if they try to assassinate Trump, he knows he's the next top target. Well, here's my concern with that, Elon. If you're target number 2 after Trump for assassination, why do you keep walking around with your youngest son on your shoulders? If you really believe that. Now, there's two possibilities there. He doesn't believe that. And he's just, as men tend to do when they speak to women, overstating his importance, being a tad dramatic, trying to seem badass. Or number 2, you do believe that, and you're banking on hoping that the would-be assassin won't take a shot at you with your kid with you, which is weird too. I'm really critical of our own side today. Is there anything I can talk about that? Maybe we'll round the show out with this. Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go to Trump's wins. Let's do that. I've been really mean to our own side this week, and you know, I'm sorry. It's all come out at the same time. All this stuff has just been kind of piling up, and I'm sick of it. I'm going to call our own side out. That's what makes us better than the left, is we're willing to police our own, and we're willing to separate from the party dogma. Not just toe the line. And that's why you guys like this show, because we're critical of our own side. I serve no master other than God. You know, I am a disruptor and a chaos agent. What are the neighbors doing that you're watching right now?
I think it's Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Wouldn't it be funny if they were watching our show? You like looked in the mirror, you looked through the window one day and they're just watching, you just see me on the screen. Wouldn't that be funny?
On the like big screen TV, just out right there.
Yeah. That would be funny. We had a neighbor in an apartment years ago who listened to us. It was that weird guy below us. Do you think he would like sit there when we would record and be like, oh, I'm going to get the sneak peek behind the scenes? Donald Trump put on his savage hat last week. First off, go ahead and check out this fiery exchange he had with the governor of Maine.
I understand Maine. Is the Maine here, the governor?
It's about the trans sports thing.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX, to have an obligation, a legal obligation, and we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect. So just to end this administration.
I love how, first off, he's like a comic. Is the governor of Maine here? Is the governor? Oh, there you are. There you are. And then, like, you're at this banquet dinner or breakfast or lunch or whatever time of the day it was, and you just have this fiery exchange in front of everybody else with the governor of Maine. Just call her out right there and bully her. We'll see you in court. Enjoy life after being governor, because I don't think you're going to get reelected. Savage. Savage. Speaking of savage, here's what he said at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee. they had a conference. They had their yearly annual conference, whatever you want to call it. And I can't believe he went here, but go ahead and check this one out.
Sleepy Joe. Got to stay with Crooked. He had one ability that I didn't have. He could do something that I couldn't do. I don't say that because he was a horrible golfer. Remember, he challenged me during the debate to a golf match? He said, I'm a 6 handicap. I said, you're not a 36 handicap. He said, he's a 6. And then he said, well, I'm 8. Remember? I said, that was quick. Picked up 2 strokes. He said, no, I'm an 8. But he's not a 36 handicap. But he had one ability that was amazing. He could go with cameras on him, television, fake news on him, probably because he knows they wouldn't cover it badly. You know, they covered him as well as you can cover him. How the hell can you cover the guy well? But he had this incredible ability. He could barely walk in the sand. Somebody thought he looked great in a bathing suit. And he'd walk in the sand pulling a thing that weighed about 6 ounces. You know those aluminum? See, aluminum's very good. You can, a child, it's meant for children and very old people to lift, right? So he would put it down, and he'd put it down, and he'd fall into it, and he'd immediately fall asleep in front of the media. I could never do that. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. I could never do it. No, he was Sleepy Joe, but he was crooked as hell. You know, there's no question. He was a sleepy, crooked guy. Terrible, terrible president. He was the worst president in the history of our country. I don't care, I'll say it. Jimmy Carter passed away recently, and he passed away a happy man. He was a happy man when he passed away, because he said that it's not even close. Joe was the worst, and believe me, I have to clean up the mess. I'm cleaning up the mess, and it is a mess on the border with inflation. Could go over every single thing he touched turned to shit, okay? Everything. It's true.
I mean, he's not even kicking him while he's down at this point. This is called pissing on someone's grave. You beat Biden in a debate so bad that he had to drop out of the race, and then you beat his vice president. What is this? 3 months after you beat his vice president, like 9 months after the election or after the debate, you're still just talking shit, saying Jimmy Carter finally died knowing he was no longer the worst president. It just takes a random, just senseless violence side swipe at Jimmy Carter as collateral damage. He is the greatest comedian of all time. He really is. And it's the way he does it and the setting that makes it so effective. So you're going to see, so he's got some wins piling up, despite how critical I've been of the administration. And I don't necessarily think the Epstein thing is Trump's fault, by the way. I think there are people under him that are causing some of these problems. But it's the you vote for the whole administration, right? We knew who all we were getting. Nonetheless, they've had some wins. So they are going to lay off another several thousand IRS employees. They're also going to be closing 120 offices, IRS offices in the U.S. I cannot wait for the Spirit Halloween to open up there. I can't wait. The Spirit Halloween IRS edition. I'm here for it. I will shop there. Big fan of it. But as it turns out, employees of the Biden IRS leaked the taxpayer information of over 400,000 Americans to dark web hackers, including Donald Trump. It says the IRS's admission, this is from GOP House Judiciary Committee, IRS's admission confirms the committee's suspicion and recent reports that show the scope of the leak was much broader than what the Biden administration's IRS initially led the public to believe. In May 2024, spokesman stated that more than 70,000 taxpayers were affected. They found out it was actually 405,000 taxpayers. So, I mean, this is a reckless organization that really... So, they leak a bunch of our shit. 70,000 people, not a lot compared to the grand scheme of total taxpayers in this country, but that's still 70,000 people who are now going to be put through this unprecedented amount of stress that could have been avoidable. So they leaked 70,000, and it turns out they lied about it and covered it up. It was actually, what, almost 6 times that? Almost 6 times that. They continued to try to cover it up. And then they have the nerve to sit there and tell you that they shouldn't be fired for that. That the people who will ruin an old lady's financial situation because she made one mistake on her taxes can just quote unquote, accidentally leak 400,000 people's information to dark web hackers and have no consequences for it. When I talk about the level of apathy they have, when I talk about the level of disdain that some of these people who work in the federal government have for us, this is the shit I'm talking about here. They really think there shouldn't be consequences for this. They think this is something they can cover up because for the longest time, it has been. It's been something they can get away with without consequences. And that's coming to an end. We've got cuts at the Pentagon. Cuts at the Pentagon, and the liberals who spent the last 25 years yelling about how we need to make cuts to the Pentagon are finding new ways to defend it. How dare you cut the Pentagon? At a time like this, you could never do it. This is 8D chess. He's dancing circles around them, making them look stupid. Cuts to the Pentagon has been a staple mark of the left's agenda for decades in this country. Decades, since the Reagan era. Prior to that, honestly, decades. It's been a staple mark of their policy. A central piece of the left-wing ideology in the United States. Trump cuts the Pentagon, all of a sudden they do a 180 on it. They are his dancing monkey at this point. How far? He should just try to see how far he can take this. How far can he take this? You know what he should do? He should come out and just issue a executive order, national proclamation tomorrow, March 1st, Sunday, is National Hitler Was a Bad Guy Day. And they'll go, no, you can't do it. He built the Volkswagen. Hitler, the Autobahn.
There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler.
He should just see how far he can take this. Come out and go, you know, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. And this would be like his Peggy Hill moment. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and slavery was a bad thing. See how they challenge him on that. That slavery shit we did back in the 1800s was messed up, man. We never should have done that. See how they come after him for that. Just make blatant, obvious statements that you'd have to be a monster to disagree with and see what they say. We've also got border crossings are at their lowest amount since April of 2017. So, for context, in December of 2023, you had estimated 264,000 illegal border crossings at the U.S. southern border. That's right. I said December of 2023, not all of 2023. That was 1 month. Biden's average was approximately 167,000 per month. Last month, we had 15,700. They're shipping them away, and they're not coming back because the message has been sent, you don't come here illegally. That's finished. Stop coming here. We're done. We're done taking you in. If you're not going to come in legally, we don't want you here. We'll send you right back to where you came from. And it's working. People don't want to come over here and live in constant fear that they're going to be shipped away. Good. If you're not willing to go through the process to get here legally, we don't want you here. You can seek asylum. There's a process for that. You can try to become a citizen. There's a lot of different things. I'm not saying we shut off the world to foreigners. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you're not going to come here legally, we don't want you here. Now, if you remember that was a good one. That was a good one. It was masterful. But if you remember in the debate, Kamala Harris tried to make the bogus claim that Donald Trump killed their border security bill that supposedly was a bipartisan effort that everybody agreed on, and Trump pressured a bunch of Republicans. Trump wasn't in office, so irrelevant. But he pressured a bunch of Republicans not to vote for it, and they claim that they have no proof that this happened, but they claim that he did it. And the reason he supposedly did it was because he knew it would help the Democrats in the election if they got the border under control. And Trump said, you don't need to pass a law to do it. Border patrol and border security is an executive function. You don't need to go through Congress to do it. Now, you do need to go through Congress to make it permanent, but he said you don't need to go through Congress to do it. Guess what? He hasn't gone through Congress yet. They haven't made these laws permanent. He's just actually secured the damn border, which means that it's like I said, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden had the resources at their disposal to do this all along, but they never did. We have to ask, why did they never do it? Did they not do it because they didn't care, or was it on purpose? Were they intentionally trying to create a crisis in this country to burn it to the ground, a la Cloward Piven strategy? What do you think? Do you think it was incompetence and laziness, Mia, or do you think it was all on purpose?
I want to say all on purpose, but in reality, it was probably just incompetence.
They were so stupid, weren't they? God, they were so stupid. Okay, we got time for one more, then we're getting out of here. Let's talk about Diddy. Did he do it or did he not? Do I not have that segment up there? That's fine. Just go up to the top then. Top of the main show. Yeah, so P. Diddy's lawyer has removed himself from the case. He's done. He's dropped off. Let me see if I can find the article. I want to read the exact quote to you guys. Here it is, Yahoo News. P. Diddy's lawyer, disgraced former music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, will most likely have new legal representation when his federal trial begins this spring. Attorney Anthony Rico filed a motion to withdraw from the case in which he made it clear he has no intention of further defending the fallen superstar who allegedly orchestrated the salacious freak-off parties. Rico's move comes after Combs' defense team attempted to point out racial injustice and the justice system's targeting of black men. That is an interesting angle for P. Diddy there. They're only doing this because I'm black. Yeah. If that's the defense you want to use, man. Said Rico's motion filed. We're not talking a Rico case. The guy's name is Rico, by the way. Rico's motion filed in New York federal court. He notified the judge of his intent to withdraw, adding it had followed discussions with Combs' lead counsel, Mark Agnifilo. He's got a lot of Italians working on this. These are fucking mob lawyers, guys. Says, although I have provided Sean Combs with the high level of legal representation expected by the court, under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel for Sean Combs. He declined to offer specific details that led to the decision, citing attorney-client privilege in the filing. Here's my thing, guys. This is the guy who, after 9/11, defended Osama bin Laden against the United States government. Unsuccessfully, but defended Osama bin Laden before the U.S. government went out to go looking for him. And whatever he saw with Diddy was enough to make him go, nope, never mind. It's like you hear stories about cops or guys that have been in combat zones. It takes a lot for them to get disturbed by different images and videos. And you'll hear about them going through, like, watching, like, really grotesque horror movies and stuff like that, and it doesn't bother them. And you'll hear, if a haunted house or a scary movie or something did fuck with their head, it's like, oh, my God, that must be extreme. I want to know what did P. Diddy do that made this guy go, I'm done. I can't do this. What do you think he did?
I think it was me. I don't know.
Do you think it may be names affiliated that this guy doesn't want to go down that road?
It could be.
Yeah, I think it might be that. My guess is somebody got threatened. We're not going to speculate about names, but my guess is somebody was threatened or he came across some people, or P. Diddy came forward and said, I'm going to expose X, Y, and Z celebrities in exchange for an easier sentence. And this guy was like, nope, I'm not going down that road, because people who call those folks out have a history of swimming with the fishes. taking a little dive in the pool with their hands tied behind their back, that kind of thing. Shooting themselves in the back of the head 6 times, you know, getting killed by armed robbers who don't take any valuables from them. Those kind of deaths. Fun ways to go, right? Fun ways to go. We're going to end our show right there. I might do a brief little Sunday show. A little bit more ranting for you guys later Sunday morning, depending on what my weekend looks like. We will see for sure Monday. For sure Monday. I'm going to try and get a quick little show Sunday for you, though. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. And stay based.